superstar, you're going to have to work some things out. You're going to have to work out how he fits in with your other stars. So we might look on the surface and say, do he and Giannis really fit? But I would give it a try if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis is on board with it. If I could get James Harden there, look, I don't think they can, but if I could, I'd give it a try.
Broussard, him including the Milwaukee Bucks on his list, he might as well have included the Milwaukee Brewers on his list. It's impossible. They gave all their picks to the Pelicans. So we can cross that off. Like, it's a great idea, but it's not happening. The Heat could happen. Now, I don't think the Heat would give up Bam Adebayo, but I'm sure they'd give up Tyler Hero, the future picks that aren't encumbered already. You'd have to include Iguodala in order to make the salaries work and some other stuff. You probably include Kendrick Nunn, who had a decent rookie season. So I think the Heat are a real possibility. But what I think this does is actually finally move Daryl Morey. And I say that, Brandon, because Daryl has known that the Nets do not present a real threat in this trade deal because they do not have the assets to make this work. The Heat could. And if he's going to expand his teams to include Milwaukee and Miami, he might expand it even further. So right now, Daryl, I feel like, has been holding back offering Ben Simmons, which I think would get the deal done, assuming Tillman Fertitta hasn't said you're not allowed to trade with Daryl Morey because he's mad at him for leaving the team. But I think all of a sudden this is causing real meetings in Miami and real meetings in Philadelphia. I think in Milwaukee, they're like, I mean, we can call a meeting, but unless you're in love with Dante DiVincenzo, I don't know what to tell you. So Milwaukee to me is not a realistic path, but Miami is a possibility, even if they won't include Adebayo, Brandon.
So, Nick, the Houston Rockets came out and said they're willing to go deep into the season and get uncomfortable until they hear what they like. Do you think that now that deadline, that timetable to move Harden moves up, right? Because Harden doesn't want to be there. Now you have all these other players involved. Will they get it done sooner or later?
I feel like I feel like sooner is possible, and I'll throw this to you, Wilds, because Harden is now not being so hard to deal with. I think when it's just, I'm not showing up, I'm going out with Lil Baby, trade me to the Nets, it's like, you know what, man, bleep off. We're not doing it. But now he is there. He has expanded the list of teams, and now all of a sudden you're not handcuffed. I still think they are willing to go into the season with him, but Wilds, now I think there is a real possibility, since Harden, I think, understands he's not going to be able to force his way just to Brooklyn.
Well, I'd be lying to you if I wasn't looking forward to like a Jimmy Butler-esque practice where it's like, uh-oh, Harden lit the world on fire and dunked on John Wall, doesn't want him as a teammate. I don't know what's going to happen. Broussard, one other thing that Shams wrote in this article, it sounds like the Nets deal is dead. Here's what he wrote. Sources said the Rockets have no interest in a Nets offer unless it would include either Durant or Kyrie. I know we had kicked that around. I don't think the Nets are going to move, certainly not moving Durant. I'd be gobsmacked if they moved Kyrie and the whole thing fell apart. So it feels to me that the Nets deal is 100% dead.
I'm going to be honest here, and I think Kyrie Irving is a tremendous player, future Hall of Famer.
You're right.
And I can't make the deal.
It's amazing.
Well, let me preface it with this. I can't make the deal because Kevin Durant loves Kyrie Irving, right? And that's why he's in Brooklyn. But I would trade, if Durant would sign off on it, I would trade Kyrie Irving for James Harden. Now, I don't know that.
I'll take it a step
Does
further.
Houston do that? I don't know that Houston does that, but I would do it if I was Brooklyn.
Again, I don't think Houston does it either, but if Shams is saying Houston would consider it, if Houston came to me and I'm Brooklyn and says, we'll trade you Harden for either Kyrie or LeVert, Dinwiddie, Allen, and picks, you decide. If I'm Brooklyn, I'd rather trade Kyrie and keep the pieces and the picks. No question about it.
Yeah.
Because I do think there is a question
you
if Durant,
understand they can't,
Kyrie,
though,
Harden.
right?
What do you mean?
Don't you think
because
that
of KD,
upsets
because of the
Durant as much
relationship?
as he likes? Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
As
I
much
gotta
as
see
he
what
likes
the
Harden.
burner Twitter accounts are saying. I don't know. The guy seems a little fickle. Like maybe it upsets him, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Kyrie's out here talking about chakras and you know, he's in year 10 and he's learning. I don't know, man. It's fickle business. But KD and Harden with a real supporting cast.
Harden is changing the game.
I agree.
Harden is changing the game. He's taking the NFL football players' approach. He's changing the game.
A major say in the decision making in Houston for several years. He wanted Chris Paul. He got Chris Paul. He wanted Chris Paul out and Russell Westbrook in. Chris Paul was out. Westbrook was in. And if he, you know, all the reports were saying he wanted Ty Lue and John Lucas. So Ty Lue first, John Lucas second. If he got neither of them, he's looking around and saying, okay, Daryl Morey's gone. Mike D'Antoni, who built an offense around me that turned me into a legend, is gone. And now they're not listening to me as far as coaching hires. Then I could see why that could be true and he would want out. But of course, there is no way the Rockets hired Silas against Harden's will. I'm sure they went to him, and he actually, of course, talked to Silas during the interview process. That was a part of it. If he had told Houston at the time, look, if you hire Silas, I want out, it's hard to believe they would have hired him. Now, if I'm the Rockets, though, I would hope that this is the only reason James Harden wants out. Because I actually think Stephen Silas has a good chance of winning Harden over if that's the case. He's a 20-year assistant in the league. He was under Rick Carlisle, who we know is a great coach. And he was under Don Nelson in Golden State. Nelly is one of the most innovative offensive coaches the league has seen. So they have talent in Houston. It may not come together, but they do have talent. I think Silas has a good chance of figuring out a scheme that might be able to maximize these guys together, and that could win Harden over.
So, listen, with respect to the report and with respect to James Harden, I don't buy this for 1 second. Let me tell you a little bit about Stephen Silas. Broussard alluded to some of it. NBA bloodlines. His dad, of course, is Paul Silas. He went to an Ivy League school and played basketball there for 4 years. He has been an assistant in this league grinding since the year 2000, 20 years for this opportunity. And at his most recent stop, he helped design the most efficient, highest scoring offense in the history of the league with Luka Doncic, who has actually a somewhat similar skill set to James Harden. The idea that Stephen Silas was the reason Harden wants out, it's craziness. What I think is happening here, Brandon, is I am certain Harden is hearing what I'm hearing from some of his colleagues, which is a lot of the players around the league that have made a big deal, rightfully so, over the lack of minority representation amongst general managers and head coaches of this league do not like that James Harden is essentially throwing a bomb into Stephen Silas's first opportunity at being a head coach. And so I think this gets released as a, no, it's nothing against Stephen Silas. I just wanted Ty Lue, a different black head coach, to try to mute some of that criticism. Because what Harden is doing to Silas, who has waited for this opportunity, is not being received well by his peers. So I think this is a PR maneuver. I absolutely do not believe that if they had hired Ty Lue, all of a sudden James Harden is not doing this exact same thing.
I disagree, man. This is all about ball. This is about his legacy. That's all this is about. If you want to say it's an excuse, fine. But at the end of the day, we saw what this guy tried to transform into in the bubble. We talked about this guy being ball dominant. He doesn't play any defense. What did he do? If you go back and watch those games in the bubble, he played off the ball. He was more aggressive on defense. That was part of the biggest story. That was some of the biggest stories that we talked about in the bubble. Oh, look at James Harden. So when you see that, you see a guy trying to transform to win a championship. This comes down to legacy. This comes down to a guy trying to find the right environment to push, hit what he's trying to accomplish forward. Play with some superstar basketball players and win the championship. This has nothing to do with about coaching. Nothing.
All right, so there's something else I wanted to bring up with you guys. Amidst all the other drama, there's another report that came out yesterday that Harden is open to being traded to the 76ers or other contenders around the league. Again, not his choice, but Broussard, where is the best fit, in your opinion, for James Harden?
Look, I think Brooklyn would be arguably the greatest chemistry experiment the league has ever seen. I mean, looking at that on paper, I don't know how in the world that works. However, that is major league talent. And if they came together, you could not write that team off because of just the so much talent that they would have. That said, I like Philly.